What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of Wealthy Hours, where the application of wealth is power. Y'all already know today we rocking with some extraordinary gentlemen. My man to the right is the one that keep it tight and keep it right. My boy Cadero, the chosen one. What's up, C?
Man, another day in paradise. We're going to roll paradise. Shout out to 7-Eleven.
Straight up. And then to my left, man, that this man needs no introduction. Very, very special episode for me. We got my dad, my father, Coach K. Coach K, how you feeling
Coach
today?
K, man, better than amazing. I'm feeling absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And this episode is really special to me, mainly because you don't see episodes like this where you have a father and son legacy talking on the episode. Most people see us, Coach K, and they say, "Oh man, those guys are successful, and those guys are, the camaraderie that they have." But I wanted to just tap into your journey. You know what you went through, the troubles that you had of trying to be a father, the troubles that you had of not having a father, because people look at us and they think it's cupcakes and holidays, but you went through a lot to try to have a relationship with your son. And at the same time, trying to build for your family, build for your legacy and all of that. So just give the audience, where you from, what's your background, all of that.
Wow, I got emotional just hearing you say all that. Oh, my God. Well, I'm a native born in a small town, Tyler, Texas, east, and spent most of my, I guess you say, teenage years in the DFW area, mainly Fort Worth, Texas. And the journey has not been without, as most people say, conflict. But one of the things that I celebrate is that through all of the drama, through all the issues, I have learned, I think, one of the necessary skills are called conflict resolution. Because if you don't know how to resolve conflict on various levels, you can't win in the money game. And I'm sure that we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit. But a little bit about me, I really spent most of my beginning years in the church. Most of that was due to the fact that I did not have my father. My father was living, but I didn't have a relationship with my father. And so I was kind of pushed in the direction of participating in the religious spectrum, churches. But one of the wonderful things that I can say about the church experience was that around about 11 and a half years old, I was really going through some real trouble times, feeling rejected. Where's my dad? My dad don't care about me. And I'm playing basketball, playing football. We're an undefeated team in the 8th grade in football and basketball. Saw all the little kids running around with their dads celebrating, and then after the events, winning the championship, they were going to get pizza, and then there was me, right? I'm like, okay, what about me? So I hopped on my bicycle and rode home, and it did something to me and for me. I became very, very independent in my pursuit of becoming successful. So my desire, my appetite for success started when I was around about 12 years old. So I had a neighbor of mine, and I won't be long-winded on it, but a neighbor of mine, Hispanic guy, I'd never forget it, knocked on his door and said, "Hey, can I borrow your lawnmower? I want to go out and, make me some money." Mom, single parent, raising, 4 kids by herself. So didn't really have any kind of discretionary income. Be truthful of the matter, didn't have any income, man. Right. It was a day of food stamps. Some of you call them EBT now, but them
shout out to Lone Star.
It was food. Y'all talking about
raised
Lone
on that
Star,
too. You tell that about EBT.
We actually had the little booklets, with the denominations on there, the different colors of one.
Oh yeah, we had them too. I was getting haircuts off their food stamp money.
That's them Jungle Juice days.
So that really kind of created just an innate desire for me. I said, I don't want to live like this. I really want to be successful. And so I started focusing. When I was 9th grade, 10th grade, I had to be honest. I mean, the big distraction, girl, right? Got a girlfriend, and
PWs, pretty women. Kenny Mack in full effect.
Pretty Ricky, what they call them.
But, I never forget, I was shooting hooky out of school. I was 11th grade by this time. I'm skipping around due to the time. But I'm in 11th grade, shooting hooky. Guy pulls up, and he had this this vehicle, this car, and it said Dr. Cool on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this dude looks sus. You know, and I'm on the phone booth. I'm at the phone booth back in the day. For those in the audience don't know what that is, I mean, they actually had actual booths with phones in them.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm making a call. I don't know who I'll be calling. Everybody's in school. But this guy said to me, he said, "Hey, young man, why you not in school?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, and back in the day, you know, we didn't disrespect, you know, grown folk, you know, things like that. You know, I was respectful. I was scared about the answer, about the question. And I said, he said, "Yeah, man, get in this car."
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, you can do that.
Yeah, you
He
can do
said,
that.
"What school you go to?" I told him my school. He dropped me off at school. He said, "Young man, what time you get out of school?" I told him, I said, "Get out of school at 3:15. He said, "I'm going to be here. You be out here." And 3:15, I was there. He took me to his office. And this is one of the most powerful things that ever happened in my life. This guy took me to his office, sitting in his office. He said to me, "Young man, what's your name?" I said, "Hey, I'm Kenny McGee." And he said, "I didn't ask you your name." He said, "I know your name. You told me that this morning." He says, "But who are you?" And I was like, you know, 30 seconds. I'm Kenny McGee. He said, "Young man, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to ask you one more time. I want you to tell me who you are, and you bet not tell me your name." Yeah, you can imagine 17 years old, tears start streaming down my face. I'm just like intimidated by this guy. He's a professional guy with a suit on, you know, and I was like, I don't know. He said, "Come here, young man." And he opened up this closet door, and it had a full-length mirror in it. And in that full-length mirror, he said, "Look at that mirror." And I saw the image, a full image of myself. He said, "Young man," he said, "I'm going to tell you who you are. Don't you ever forget it." He said, "You look at that mirror." And I did. He said, "You God's greatest creation." Man,
Wow.
he did that.
Wow.
I was like, man, I'm God's greatest creation. And that was the thing that kind of inspired me. I got my first, book back in the day, Dennis Kimball, Think and Grow Rich and Black Choice by Napoleon Hill.
Wow.
Man, that changed my life, man. Senior year, I'm wearing ties in high school. People say you crazy.
Right.
I'm just, I started dressing for success. And so, that was the thing that kind of started my journey in the, of course, in the pursuit and the appetite for wanting to be more and have more in life.
Okay. All right. So that moment right there was impactful within itself. So you just gave a power testament. You know what I mean? Not born from a silver spoon. Dad's not around. Trying to find purpose. Trying to feel wanted and all of that. And you had that moment, which was clearly God sent. But now now you know what you want to do, but you don't know how you're gonna do it. Talk to me kind of what that journey was like for you.
Well, absolutely. I knew what I wanted. Of course, didn't have very, very limited resources. And the one thing that I think that I learned was back in the day is the power of words. I began to choose my words very, very carefully, the things that I would say. Of course, I related to scriptures that, you can basically call things that are not to be as though they were.
Yes, sir.
And, and I would get, chastised because I would walk around, talking about, I'm saying, man, I'm rich, and, didn't get my brother and I, we shared a car senior year, little fast car, little 69 Malibu with a shift kick in it.
And shift kick.
Shift kick. Maybe we'll kick in it. And so we shared a vehicle and, and I just worked. I worked 2 jobs in the summertime. I was always working. I learned the discipline of work, never been afraid of work. And then I started, I started my first business when I was younger, when I was, mowing grass. And so I was like, man, it's got to be a better way. And so I started pursuing various business. I probably have started in my lifetime, probably 50 different businesses.
Nice.
One will last a month, one will last a day.
Yeah.
Some will last a year.
That's an entrepreneur.
And, and I just kept going and kept going. And even when I began to experience some levels of success, you start making money. I found that I still didn't know what money was and how money worked.
Right.
Expound on that.
Yeah. Well, so basically, I had the digits, but I was a consumer. I wasn't an investor. I didn't understand investing. You know, I'm just buying, like I say, clothing. I was really into clothes, aka like my son. I think he got that from me.
Get it from his daddy.
Oh, man, I did that. You know, I was heavily invested in my appearance and clothing and things of that nature. You know, wine and dining, that kind of thing as well. And, you know, of course, taking care of my responsibility with my family. But, you know, I was always into buying, you know, high-end electronics and those kinds of things. And be honest with you, Jason, it's not until you and I began to do business together that I really said, wait a minute. I said, you know, he's making this money, I'm making this money, you know, and it just kind of hit me. The scripture says that a wise man will leave an inheritance to his children's children. And then, you know, I have this, you know, grandbaby. I got one grandchild, you know, who's 11 years old now, and she's growing like a weed. And I was like, well, what I got right now, I can't even really, you know, impact my son's life. So how is that going to impact my grandbaby's life? So I started getting really, really hungry in terms of understanding how money works. And of course, we did some of the curriculums and classes and began to really pursue the actual spirit and the frequency of money, all those different things. And that's kind of really got me in the place where I am today.
And I love what you said too, because people don't understand like the story. This is why I love hearing the journey, because I call it the ugly part. They'll see what you got now, but they don't see the journey. Like when you said about mowing yards, people don't understand the character in that. The basically like a salesman. You got to knock on the door, offer to mow somebody's yard. And you made me recap, because when I used to do that, like I had my whole street sold up, and then the next street sold up, and then like to go mow a yard to do that. How long did you do that for anyways? Was it like a little while?
Well, it was you know, during the summers, you know, 'cause I was younger then. But the impactful thing about that was that the gentleman that allowed me to use his lawnmower, he said, well, young man, this is how you're going to pay me for that. And I said, okay. Of course, I didn't have any money. He says, no. He said, once you get through cutting all the yards, the payment for the use of this lawnmower is that you cut mine as well. And, you know, and I learned.
Oh, that was an even trade.
That was powerful. I like bartering, you know what I'm saying? And so I started learning those particular types of skill sets. You know, a lot of times people look at what they don't have. Well, we always have resources. But a lot of times we cut ourselves off from the resource, which can be that person that you're frowning upon.
I'll give you another one too. You remember cans? Picking up cans. Because that people don't realize, man, I remember I used to get one trash bag full back then. You know, aluminum was pretty high. $20. $20 was a lot of money back then.
In the day.
You know what I'm saying? So I love hearing that journey, because people think like we grew up like underprivileged. You know, the EBT Lone Star card. Cause like even though I knew the Lone Star card, my grandmother and them had the paper EBT. You know, we was doing it in the neighborhood, and we was in the hood. So I go to Candy House to get my haircut with the food stamp money. So people don't understand, like it's always a resource, a trade. You know, so I love hearing their journey about that too. Like what did that develop in you as a young kid? A young man, like what did that develop in you, far as from mowing yards to learning that, like that early phase of your entrepreneurship?
Well, I was a dreamer, right? You know, it just expanded, right? 17 years old, Dallas, Texas, Reunion. Like I think it's still called the Reunion Tower now. The big ball, I guess, for the people that don't live in the Metroplex. But Dallas has this big ball, and it spins around. It's a restaurant. And so on a Saturday morning, the same gentleman that told me that I was God's greatest creation would do leadership training with youth like once a month, take us out to eat. So he took us over to Dallas, to the Reunion Tower. We're sitting up, and we're at this restaurant. There's the hotel, of course, that's attached to it. And he said, yeah, man, he said, look around. It's beautiful, right? All the ambience, the place smelled great, looked great. He said, what would you like to do in this hotel? If you had a choice today, what would you want to do? And I stuck my chest out. So I would want to be the manager. And he said, the manager. He said, okay. And then he asked other people, and he said, no one ever thought about owning the place? He said, and when he said that to me, it kind of expanded me to the point where I no longer wanted to just be a manager. I wanted to be an owner. And so with that engrafting moment, that's what I, you know, really can really attribute to some of the struggles and things that I went through. I was always a big thinker, a big dreamer, and got accused and kind of reprimanded from various people. It's like, you know, you just a dreamer. You know? and it's still a dream.
Yeah, that's the most powerful thing because you said that scripture earlier. But so a man thinketh, so is he.
Yes.
And I love because when you said this earlier, people think you crazy, but then when it happens, they come asking for help. So apparently, I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
So you wasn't that crazy to dream big
And
because
the thing is, a lot of times people, a lot of times people try to look at timelines, and
Yeah.
that's me because I used to be. By the time I turned 21, I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Right.
You know, 21 hit, I'm still broke, right? You know, then I had a little one. This one here ain't little anymore,
Right.
You know, and but the thing is, I learned about words. I said, well, I don't want to just give my son any kind of name. I don't want to just name him little Ray Ray, and I'm not disrespecting everybody out there named Ray Ray. I'm just saying. So I said, what can I name him? And I began to look, and I named him Jason, the healer, Emmanuel. Hope you don't mind me sharing middle name.
Right.
God is with us.
They're gonna look
And so
me up
every
after
time
this.
you would say his name, it just said that the healer, God is with us. So a
Nice.
lot of time when people think about healing, they're thinking about healing for their body, oh God, or regular relationships. But no, healing manifests in the area of finance as well. And so that's what I began to equate that with, and that's when I started having the greatest success, of course, as my son became older and, he went to college, did various things. He saw me doing various businesses, very, very successful in the industry of MLM, multi-level marketing, $14,000 days, all those kind of things, and those things really was the byproduct of just being a big dreamer, not settling for less, not wanting to just be a manager. I'm an IT guy. I got.
You say you had a $14,000 day.
Oh, absolutely.
So I know you good for $20.
Yeah, that's an old scorecard, does years ago. And the thing is, I've been around people that have $30,000 days.
Right.
I've been around people that make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in a day.
That's impressive.
Quite frankly, like I say, we're in the same space, same platforms that they're in right now. So it's possible.
How would you differentiate from that, though? What's the difference between, or would you say rather, the 14,000 day, $200,000 day, 300? Is it frequency? Is it mindset? Is it attitude? Like what does it take?
I think a lot of it is attitude. Just kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. The first big impartation, for me about wealth and being rich was Napoleon Hill, Dennis Kimball, Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. Now I knew about, Think and Grow Rich, but when they said Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice, meaning I have a choice too, and it just kind of elevated me to your point, my mindset, even though I was in the inner city, I was around guys doing drugs. I didn't do drugs.
Right.
I'm God's greatest creation.
Right.
I can't be
Like
doing
that.
drugs.
Right.
And so it kind of helped me with my selection process. I mean, and I don't want this story or this journey to sound like, that it was all wins, because it wasn't, because my frequency was challenged when it came to females. I mean, I had a very vulnerability to pretty girls, and and I just got caught up in the pretty girl syndrome and things like that, and spending money on pretty girls and getting my heart broken by pretty girls, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that kind of messed me up a little bit, I think, in terms of momentum. But it did. The thing is, to your point, it's about mindset, though. And even when it comes to people and associations, sometimes one of the most difficult things to do is to separate yourself from people that are quote unquote kinfolk, love folks, whatever.
Right.
And but if it invades your mindset or your ability to maintain that frequency, you know what I'm saying, that the vibrational manifestation that comes from frequencies of success, then you have to separate yourself, And so I spent a lot of time alone because of that.
Yeah. So I know. So this is key right here. Like you said, you separate yourself from time. So you're older,
Right.
but you still grind. You still hustle. Like you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. So how do you separate yourself from the quote unquote the stereotype or the dogma of age?
Well, I mean, and I get it. I mean, that's a good question. And it is can be mentally, conflict with that, because there are so many, quote unquote, reminders in our society, hey, you're 64. you're 65. You need to be on Medicaid. You know, you've just been bombarded with all those. But the thing is that what I truly believe, because of frequency and vibration, I study frequency, I study vibration, not just for finance, but for health also. You know, about 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I was like, oh my God, you know, that was just kind of one of those real traumatic things that that I got hit with, and immediately, I had my moment of fear, but I immediately went to the heavens and began to pursue the answer. I said, God, I know what this doctor just told me. He wanted to rush me into a surgery the next day. I said, God, it just don't feel right. Guide me, lead me. And he did. Guide me to some individuals and resources. I'm talking about healers and people that have medicines that are quote unquote not available in Western medicines, and mostly dealing with frequencies and vibrations. And I began to use these various frequencies and vibrations. And my doctor's like, man, I don't know what you're doing, but hey, keep doing what you're doing.
That's powerful. And then speaking of which, because I'm gonna add this too, me having the privilege of knowing who you are, you also was a pastor for a period of time.
Yeah.
Then you went on a sabbatical. Like, if you can briefly explain like that journey, even knowing now who you are and depth into scripture, speaking that word, like how was that journey from like start to even going on a sabbatical to where you are now?
Well, I mean, it's kind of, so someone would think, well, why did he skip over the whole pastor thing, right? Well, I started pastoring when I was 18. I had my first church when I was 18 years old. I gave my life to Christ when I was 11 years old. I think that was some of the reasons why the universe, God himself, navigated me not having a father, reminding me day to day that you got a father.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times,
Heavenly Father, facts.
hang out, hang on with my dad wasn't there for me. And I had to have some spankings where I had to come to understand that it doesn't even matter, right? Because you got a father. You have the supreme resource that you need. And that was one of the things that really, really empowered me. I mean, that place of being a servant, giving and giving and giving. There's really not a lot of really money for the most part for the average pastor. I know that there's mega this, mega that. But for the average pastor, they bivocational like I was. I worked and pastored.
Right.
I would fly out and travel and fly back home every Friday. And then on Sundays, I was preaching, and Sunday evening, I was flying back out. And that's how I provided for my family during those bivocational moments in my life. And back in 2017, I had a conversation with God. I said, God, I'm tired of this.
Right.
I just came just transparent. I'm always praying for people. Everybody wants the same thing in the prayer line.
Yeah.
It's either, pray for my health, or
Pray
it's
for
like,
money.
I'm broke, Pastor.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to get evicted. It's like, man, God, I mean, we're preaching every Sunday about, you can have this, call things that are not to be as though they were, and we're telling people, hey, go ahead and give that 10% time and see not if God's not going to right?
Let's go.
And then I look around and say, man, is there a window that I'm missing out? Because people are tithing, they've been tithing, and they still broke.
Yeah.
And I'm having to go to my wife and say, honey, they're going to get kicked out, taken from my personal resources to try to help families. I said, God, wait a minute.
This just ain't it. Yeah.
So I got a little disenfranchised, and I said, God, open my eyes. I said, open my eyes and allow me to see.
Wow.
And it wasn't, 24, 48 hours later, I get a call from a gentleman by the name of Dr. Raphael Spiller. I'll go ahead and put his name out there.
Right. Absolutely.
And
Shout out to Spiller.
Dr. Spiller.
He called me and said, hey, have you ever heard of Forex? And I said, yeah, I've heard of it. Matter of fact, my son and I just lost probably $40,000, $50,000 invested in somebody that was trading our money.
That came to the church.
Man, that guy came to the church crying and said, this is what God wants to do for the church.
Pulpit pimp.
God. That ain't no friendship, west or south.
Painful, right?
Very painful.
And to what we were talking about a minute ago, Dora, we were talking about how, the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Most people quit. They quit when they lose money, they quit when they have a bad experience. But I was resolved that no matter what, what I'm saying, I can't quit.
Yeah.
I've had my wife looking at me sideways. I'm just saying, it was just like some challenging times. But when he asked that question, he put us in a space, put us in a platform that allow us to begin to learn the skill
Mm.
of trading.
Mm.
So a lot of people wonder why. Well, Coach, you know, I don't do interviews for jobs, right? Because I have a
Right.
skill. I'm an IT guy. So when one job closes up,
You go right to the next.
I say, hey, I need some work. They say, oh yeah, don't interview. They just, you know, because why? Skill.
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm excited for Jason as well as yourself, is that you guys have taken the time out, all of us on this journey, to learn the skill of finance.
Mhm.
You know, not just how to trade, but what to do with a trade, right?
Mm.
One of the things, Jason, that I've just been in this kind of quiet place, not been really quiet from the standpoint of quiet, but I've just been separated myself. You know, even Jesus did that. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You know, Jesus would go to a little quiet place to get his head right. You know, because people pulling on him like, hey, kid, I need this, heal me.
Mhm.
You know, I want to go to Chuck E. Cheese. You know, people pulling on you. Ooh, see that bag? I want that new Gucci bag.
Oh,
I want,
Lord,
you know,
no.
pulling
Yeah.
on you, right? You know, oh, this broke, that broke, the refrigerator, you know,
Yeah.
all that.
All that.
So, you know, you have to separate yourself, and that's what I did. I separated myself and went to a quiet place, and
Mhm.
you know, and kind of semi had been still in that place, and you know, and just began to really petition, petition God, you know, about where I am and what I need to be doing for this season in my life. I have this skill,
Mhm.
and the one thing that came to me is that the world, what's going on, especially in the political arena, people are distracted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know that people have been distracted for a long time, but I'm talking about really distracted.
Yeah.
And the voice that I got was that while people are looking that way, I need you to look the other way.
Mhm.
Mm.
Because your true financial freedom is not over in that direction. Because what happens, the play, especially in big money or the big money plays that are happening, is that with everything, the narrative, the news, all that, they get you to look this way while secretly or quietly, they're getting ready to introduce a brand new entire financial platform.
Oh yeah.
And they're positioning themselves. When I said they, talking about the big boys, the BlackRocks and things like
The
that.
elitists.
Yeah. And so that, I mean, I know I kind of got a little bit off topic.
No.
We
on topic.
That was great.
Thing, but what really got me to this place is because I believe being a pastor, serving God's people for so many years,
Yeah.
and asking that one question for God to open my eyes and allow me to see, mainly in the direction of finance, because I was so tired of just praying that same prayer.
that
God
system.
bless them in their finances, right?
Mhm.
And then seeing people struggling to pay their tithes and can't even live, can't keep their
No.
lights on. I said, God, I don't like this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I said, I'm tripping. I just don't like this.
and I don't even want to cut you off, but you remember, I would drive from Waco to come to church every Sunday, and remember we had a long talk about that, because that's the thing with church. Don't get me wrong, I love church. We had a spiritual background. My father was a pastor, but I tell people all the time, what do I tell people all the time? You're always looking up, you're not looking in.
Mhm.
Greater is he that is in you.
Right.
That's what's in the world.
And I think that has to start being a message, especially in the arena of finances, and people are looking for God and looking for the blessing and looking for the breakthrough. The breakthrough is already there.
It is.
The finances are already there. Everything that you want wants you.
Man.
You just got to look inside and realize that power. And just giving you your roses here on that line, because I think that's one thing you instilled in me, because, you were being an entrepreneur. You had a crazy baby mama.
Right? Shout out to all the crazy baby.
Shout out to all the crazy baby
Thank you
mamas.
for making me the man that I am. Making me strong and resilient and all that good stuff. Shout out to the queen.
Yeah. No, I love my mother. I love my mother, but she was young, and that's what we're trying to break here with this podcast. We're trying to break the generational curses of crazy, the generational curses of bitterness, the generational curses of being toxic, right?
Because emotionalism
and it's good to tell them stories, man, because if you don't tell that story, people think it's all peaches and cream. Like, no, man, you got people out here be tripping.
Yeah.
And another thing I'm grateful that you told that story, because that happened to me maybe like about 9 years ago, about pastoring, being up under pastor, serving. And I saw that system. I said, something wrong with that system. Jason was one of the main people I like, bro, how you gonna talk about 10%? You can't even take care of 90. It's killing you to pay 10%.
Right.
How we gonna pay our bills? I said this on the leadership call one time during COVID. I said, all y'all on this phone, we talking about raising some money. Man, it's people can't even pay that. They trying to keep their lights on. I said, we don't even have a system in the church right now where I can call this person and get that resource, or call this person and have a trade set up, or have a retirement account set up, clean your credit up. Why we don't have that?
Yeah.
Y'all got one financial ministry. We sitting at a table of 20 people and only 3 people eating good. That's a finesse.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
Maybe even 7 times if you talking about numbers.
That's pimping.
So you know what I'm saying? So what I love is what you told. You told the truth. Man, you don't have to lie. An average pastor ain't making no money. You got a church on every block, and they got the finances. You don't. You pulling up in a car, bro, it's real life monopoly.
Yeah.
It's no crime, but if you don't know the word, how you gonna study the word to show yourself approved when you really living like you denied?
Come on. And what's crazy, and I'm being a witness too. My dad, he stood up in church and said, "We ain't preaching about tithes no more." I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You said we're not preaching about tithes no more. You said we're going to start preaching about overcoming strongholds. I still remember your sermons. You start. So just talk about that, like as you standing up against that, like what are some of the things you had to do and endure to just say, you know what, I'm not taking tithes from the church no more. If y'all give, God bless you, but if you don't, we're gonna keep it pushing. Like talk about that.
Well, absolutely. Because, and I know that, another day, you really get into the whole scriptural,
Right.
understanding tithes and offerings. But, I just, quite frankly, just said it's not working.
No.
I said, God, it ain't working.
Man.
And I know that there might be some people out there say, well, it maybe wasn't working for you. No. I pastored a church of a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And Jason can attest to it. And I brought the word. I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was what you would call a actual teacher. I didn't preach and yell and scream.
Yeah.
I taught the word. We opened the Bible. We went to
You
scripture.
broke it down.
And so, yes. And I was just, God, it's not working.
Yeah.
And he says, well, and I won't get into it, so we're going to have to go on the path and turn the scripture. But the thing is that he moved me from the paradigm of just being a tither and to actually to increase my giving. And the giving sometimes is not necessarily what you give in the plate. It's in terms of what you give in terms of your attitude. You know what I'm saying? It's what you give in the workplace. It's what you give in a relationship. Just being a giver. That whole calling things that are not to be as though they were. So it's just like and I hope that this podcast. I mean, we got adults on here, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it's just like I was telling my wife. I said, look. I said, don't slow me down, right?
Man.
I said, what kind of sex will we have? Like I said, if we had $10 million in the bank right now.
Man.
And she's like, you nasty.
Now jumping off the dresser,
boy.
Jumping off the dresser.
WWE.
So that's what that is what calling things that are not to be as though they were.
Right.
So give me some $10 million sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because we already believe we got 10 million.
Right.
That's what it's about. It's that
It is.
frequency. You can't have low vibrational attitudes, you know what I'm saying, and treat me like I'm not, a millionaire.
Facts.
Treat me like I'm already there.
King.
And if they don't treat you like you there, you know what I'm saying, you have to treat yourself like you're there. David, you remember David? I know you remember David. He said that he would, before he became a multimillionaire, he would go to like some of the department stores.
We did that.
And spray on or get to sample some of the
Bun number 9.
Man,
Bun number 9, Bun number 5,
Wow.
Baccarat, which I have on now.
Let's go, bro.
So the thing is like, he says, go to a coffee shop, even if you can't afford a room in the hotel, go sit in and have a coffee.
And people don't understand the power in that.
Smell good, right?
Yeah.
Dress up, smell good. And I began to do that. You know what I'm saying? I continue to do that because sometimes you look around, people, it don't seem like they're really grateful for what you're doing, the sacrifices that you make, the energy that you're trying to maintain, the frequencies that you're trying to hold on to. Yeah. And sometimes they're the one that bring you down because they don't really understand what you know.
Yeah.
And so you have to navigate that.
Yeah.
That's conflict, right? That's conflict. That's, your vibration is here, my vibration is here. So there's a conflict. So how do I bring resolve to that, right? So sometimes you got to, you got to you know, you got to go in hyper mode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Makes you look like you're crazy. You know,
Mhm.
people go, what's wrong with Dad? What's wrong with Dad?
Yeah.
What's going on with Dad?
Yeah.
You know, you have to move like you got money.
And literally, if they know they word, you're not crazy. You actually following scripture.
Right.
And I'm going to give you your roses too, and thank you for telling the truth. Because a lot of people will live a lie and tell a lie. Like, no, man, tell the truth. How did you start and what made you shut that off? Because you saw a system that clearly wasn't working.
Right.
And I even manifested. I remember touching clothes off a hanger and saying, God, thank you for having something I can't afford. And then it was in my closet. So when we follow the word, it don't cost you a dime to walk in favor. It don't cost you a dime to sit at a wall and manifest a house, a car. I challenged God one time on this wise, and they say you can't question God, but Matthew 7:7 clearly said I can ask. And that you can read that later to people that's watching. When I did that, bro, it didn't cost me money to go to God. It didn't cost me money to ask God, show me how to get out of this, because this don't make sense to me. Man, he gave me a strategy so cold when it started going, they were like, Cadero, how did you get that? I said, number one, I said yes. Number two, I prayed and asked God. So I started realizing like this system here is rigged, because God, everything God gave me, I ain't had to pay for it. The price was already paid, number one, but we still try to follow a blueprint. But what I love about what you did, Coach K, was you followed the system and you was like, hold on, this is off. Most people don't pay attention. You paid attention on the journey and realized this ain't helping us as a people. Let me find something that can help us as a people.
So
Absolutely.
I'm grateful that you told that story.
So just to piggyback on what both of y'all said, like I'ma move like I got money. And like you said, you got the yes. People gotta understand that the word lie is in the word believe. So instead of me always focusing on what can go wrong, the relationship, the money ain't there, right? Like you said, I'm gonna move like a multimillionaire, even if the multimillionaire isn't there. If I'm a lie, I'm gonna go ahead and add that belief to that word lie.
Yeah.
I'm a multimillionaire. I drive the best cars. I eat the best food. I take the best trips. And that's what we're doing with the Financial Five. We found travel.
Yeah.
But we protect it. You know, Dad, if I die, that 10 million is there. You know what I mean? Should I have said that on there? But anyway, but neither here nor there. Guys, the word lie is in believe. So constantly tell yourself that you're going to make it. Constantly tell yourself that you're going to win. Constantly tell yourself that you're a multimillionaire. You have everything that you want, right? Because with all that get an understanding, all you got to do is ask and you will receive. Would you say that's what that word means?
I do. I would expound, because I had the whole confession calling things that are not to be as though they were.
Right.
We used to play a game when I was growing up, and I don't know if you guys remember this game.
I already know you're going with
That's my car.
That's my car.
And we show a nice car. I'll be like, that's my car. That's my car. Right?
Yeah.
And then there was another game that we played called Simon Said, and
played it too.
And here's the thing: it's the same thing that applies in day to day. Is that when you call yourself, you say, I am a multimillionaire, and I drive the best cars. But the thing is that what happens a lot of times, people say, well, I've been confessing that. Pastor, I've been confessing that I'm not broke for years. I'm still broke, right? I said, but the thing is, what you have not done is you have not connected the feeling.
Exactly.
Feeling is the secret.
So that's the secret, right? So how does it feel to be rich?
Yeah.
Right? Can you use your image or imagination to begin to create pictures of what it feels like to be able to walk into any place or, buy the nicest clothes, travel the world? What does that feel like? And once you harness that feeling, hold on to that feeling.
Man.
That's when they're going to start looking at you. When I was waiting tables, when I was going to Bible school, they would call me Kenny Love, right? And the reason why they call me Kenny Love, because my energy, right? I had this energy.
Yeah.
I keep my energy up here because I know I'm waiting tables today, but one day there's going to be somebody serving me, you know what I'm saying, at the finest restaurant.
Facts.
My wife and I, we went to, our anniversary was back in January. Real nice steakhouse here in Dallas area. And I'm talking about, it was $500 bill, but if you do that, you don't like, oh my God, I got to rob Peter. PayPal.
Yeah.
You start bringing those negative feelings. No, sit up. I deserve to be here.
Yeah.
When you communicate with the various staff there, they need to see or feel what you feel like. Oh, he belongs here. I don't know what you do, but you belong here. And that's a part of the feeling, not just confessing, that I'm rich. I'm this, I'm that, but also harnessing the feeling of what's associated with what you're confessing.
So let me ask you, so now in this point of your life, you going and you're moving accordingly. How big is, number one, legacy and success? Like, how would you prioritize family, legacy, success, health, all of those good things?
Yeah, well, legacy, certainly is a priority, and I know that when I was starting my my business, the legacy agenda, and I was kind of looking around, and I was like, okay, what is the legacy agenda about, right? What is the actual substance of what it is? Well, number one is being aware, right? Because opportunities are around us, but a lot of people are still broke. Why? Because they're not aware of what the opportunities are, right? And then not only that, when awareness come, you got to be prepared. So in other words, what does it look like if I'm a millionaire? What is the responsibility of a millionaire? For its taxes and things like that. So be prepared, and then also take action.
Right.
So
That's
those
good.
are the three things. You be aware, be prepared, take action. That's how legacy is manifested. Even Jesus was all about legacy. What I'm saying? A wise man will leave an inheritance for his children's children, right? And so as I ponder that, okay, how am I going to leave Jason something? I'm struggling, right? Well, I'm living my inheritance. He's actually walking in it. Why? Because he has the inheritance of wisdom. He has the inheritance of understanding money, how money works, how to invest. And my grandbaby, she started trading, golly, when she was 8, 9 years old.
Wow.
Teaching her what red candles were, what green candles are, and she knew support and resistance. Why? That is the transference of legacy. It's teaching your children how money works, not just, hey, going out making a lot of money, but no, how does the system work? And we're next level it now by partnering up with some of the big players to understand exactly, what to do with this money. Jason, what to do with $10 million, right? Should I go out and buy a Rolls Royce? Should I go out and do this with that? And that's what happens with a lot of people when it comes, or get exposed to a lot of money so quickly, like a lotto or something.
Yeah.
Statistically, they end up broke.
It's amazing you said that. I just told my lady this actually yesterday. I said, when you move, a lot of people miss this in the kingdom too, is strategy. I said, what would you do right now if you had 150,000? How would you move with that? Okay, I said, now what would you move with $500,000? What would you move with 1.3? So I'm big on writing the vision and make it plain, because if you don't give God something to bless, what happens when you get it? Most people scramble through it fast because you had no setup. That hits right now. Most people finna run and get a car, house, or whatever you finna go throw it away on. Do you have a structure? Who can I invest with? Who can I lock in a circle? Because the power of your circle gonna change your life or ruin it. So when you said that, I was like, that's the last gem I'll add to, is like, make sure you have a strategy and make sure the people in your circle that y'all going down the same road. Because if not, that's how you get a crash out. That's how you lose money, because somebody up top knew what was finna happen. They just didn't say nothing. But if you got a people around you that can tell you the truth, they can be the real forecaster to get you there or set you up to fail. So I tell people, pay attention to your circle, make sure your strategy is good, and make sure the people in your circle is good. Because one bad apple can spoil the whole batch. We all know that. One root to that tree can mess that tree up. But if that tree is good, you'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and you always have to bear fruit. And I'll say this just as we bring this to a close, just seeing, you come on and you still fight the good fight and you still endure the struggle just lets people know that even when you make $1 million, even when you make $5 million, you've arrived, but you're not there. I'm going to say that again.
Oh, that's good.
You've arrived, but you're not there. Because there's always another level you can go to. Okay, now I've taken care of my daughter, but let me take care of my daughter's daughter. Let me take care of my daughter's daughter's daughter. You know, it's like the Rothschilds, the Merovingians, the Trumps. You know, they're doing that. And I tell people, you know, all the time, especially our people that have the same hue. A lot of people want to be like LeBron James, but I'm going to teach my kids about Warren Buffett. I'm not going to like instead of teaching your kids how to, you know, dribble a ball and make $30 million a year, teach them how to use their mind and make $30 million a day. And that's the difference, right? Like you said, instead of want to be the manager of the building, own the building. So just just persevere. One of my favorite movies is The Matrix by time, and just realize that there's no spoon. You know, right? That part right there was profound. Told Neo, don't try to bend the spoon. That's too difficult, right? Instead of just realize the fact. What's that? That there is no spoon. You'll see that it's not the spoon that bends, it's yourself. So what that mean was, if yourself can bend to the reality and really realize and get into the frequency and the feeling of, I am the one, like he did.
Yeah.
I am the one. I am the chosen one. I am the head, not the tail. I am a lender, not a borrower. I am a king. You know, I'm not a peasant. That's when things starts to shift in your life. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. Has it been easy for you?
Absolutely not.
It's not going to be easy, but when you just realize that this obstacle, that this trial is just something that's going to help you build character, it's going to help you be stronger, more diligent, and more powerful, you'll realize that nothing can stand in your way.
Absolutely.
So, Coach K, we're going to let you close it off.
Well, I have had so much fun, sitting here and talking with the fellas here.
Yes, sir.
And, and I think for the audience out there, if I was to leave something in the amount of time that we have left on this podcast, there would be a couple of things, right? And one would be is that, and I was sharing early on in the podcast about how I was fortunate to be able to learn very early who I am, that I was God's greatest creation. And so I learned that, right? Yeah. And because I learned who I was at a very, very young age, because a lot of people, even in their 60s, 30s, 20s, they don't know who they are, right? Right. They're surviving, they're just getting through, it's just a day-to-day grind. Oh, look what, God, what's next? Those kinds of vibrations. And I would, would encourage, number one, for you to protect your mind. The word talks about, hey, guard your heart, because out of your heart flows the issues of life, the solutions. Everything comes from the heart. And so you to guard it, right? And so a part of guarding the heart is guarding the gate to the heart, right? Which is my mind. So, what do I entertain? What do I listen to, in terms of music-wise? What do I look at on TV? I don't even really do a lot of that. I spend the bulk of my time educating myself. If I really, 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 really want to have, $10 million days, whatever, let me begin to follow, to Twitter and so X or whatever you want to call it. Some of the players, people upset with Trump this and ICE this and this, and I'm not going to make anything about political at the moment, but the thing is, those are distractions. Right? So, I'm looking at the guys that are talking to Trump. What should I be doing with my money? What are they doing with their money?
Right.
What stocks are they buying? And so those are the plays that I'm making. I said, okay, they got people looking to the right while they're making moves on the left. And so that's what you want to do. You want to guard your mind, guard your heart, protect it, protect. Man, if I can leave you with this one thing, protect the content, man. Protect your mind, because if you don't, it's going to have your spirit in all disarray. And then you're going to find yourself, what they call a jack of all trades, a master of none, because you didn't learn to master your thought processes.
Wow. That was good.
That's huge. Well, man, this has been an absolute blessing, and I want to just give a shout out for those who are listening and Coach is taking, telling everyone to make money. I'm manifesting this. Y'all will follow Coach K because Coach, we're coming soon with Coach K's stock plays, where he's going to be giving you stocks on what to buy and why you should buy them. So with that being said, guys, this is the end of another successful Wealthy Hours episode. I'm going to ask everyone who enjoyed this to like, share, and subscribe. It doesn't cost you nothing to be supportive, right? So with that being said, there's 3 C's in life: choice, chance, and change. You got to make the choice and take the chance in order for your life to change.
Facts.
Wealthy Hours out.
Peace and increase.
Peace.